Hi guys, welcome to Learn PHP with FarazDev. In this tutorial, we will start learning about variables. So let's get started. What are the variables? We will learn this and then there will be a few naming conventions for the variables, and we will also discuss PHP type declaration as well as variable scopes. Okay, so first of all, what are variables? You can think of a variable as a container for storing the information. For example, you can store numbers, strings, arrays, and much more. Let's dive into our code and see what we can do. For example, I have created this file already, PHP file already. I will start the PHP code with this start tag, and then I can write the variables here or any type of PHP code here. So I can store, let's say I want to store my name and I want to display my name to the user. So what I can do is I can store my name into a variable. Let's say I name this variable as X, and there should be an equal sign, and then after this I can write the value for all. As you already know, every PHP statement should end with this semicolon. Okay, so this is a valid statement. What does it do? It defines a new variable and its name is X, and it assigns a value of my name Faraz Ahmed to it. Let's check. I will go back to the browser and refresh. You see nothing is being displayed here. When I go back to my code, I echo this variable X. So do you can you guess what will it display now? It will display my name because it will not display this in the browser. Instead, it will display this my name for other. Let's refresh. As you can see, it has displayed my name. Okay, so this particular value or my name that I have written is called a string. A string is a concatenation of a few characters. There are several characters, FARAZ, and then a space, and then AHMAD. So these letters or characters combined will make a string. So this is a string. I can store a string in my variable. I can also store a number like 10. I can also store an array. We will come back to these data types later, but for just demonstration purposes, I am giving you some examples. So I can store an array. When you refresh the page, you will see an array here. Okay, so we can use variables to store numbers, strings, arrays, and much more. Okay, so what is a variable? It is a container for storing the information. The information can be number, string, array, or anything else. Okay, so let's discuss about the naming conventions for the variables now. As you might already have noticed, I have named my variable like this. So in PHP, every variable name should start with this $sign. So if I remove this, you can see my browser has already recognized that this is an invalid PHP statement just because I have removed the $sign. So let's verify from refreshing the page. You can see syntax error. Okay, so let's bring the dollar sign back, and you can see the error has been removed. I can refresh the page. So the first convention is that variable names must be prepended by a dollar sign. Can you write multiple dollar signs as well? Yes, of course you can. Variable name must start with a letter or underscore. For example, I can name my variable as, let's change the value back to my name, and then I can name it whatever I want. For example, I can name it as my name. This is a valid variable name. So you see the same result. I can also name it as name. This is also a valid one. I can also start the name with an underscore, like so. But I cannot start the variable name with a number. As you can see, as soon as I write a number at the start of the variable name, it says that my ID tells me that this is an invalid variable name. Okay, so variable name must be prepended by a dollar sign. It can start with a letter ABC or ABC A to Z or underscore, but it cannot be started with a number. Next, variable names are case sensitive. What does it mean? If I name a variable as like this name, and in while echoing, I write it like name with a capital N. So when I go back to the browser and refresh the page, you see it has not shown me anything on the page, because in PHP this name with capital N is different to this name with the small n. So as soon as I write small n here and refresh the page, you can see the name has been displayed. Okay, so PHP variables are case sensitive. There can be small letters and different letters if you use the same set of characters, but with the combination of small or different small or capital letters, then they will be treated as different. Lastly, variable name can only contain alphanumeric characters and underscores. What does this mean? It can contain A to Z and numbers and the underscore, but nothing else. So, for example, I can name my variable as name1. This is a valid number. Remember, we cannot start the name with a number, but we can include a number in the variable name, but not at the start, but anywhere else. You can use that name and that in the name. Okay, so this is a valid name. So what if I write underscore? Oh, sorry. What is I write hyphen? You can see this is an invalid name. So we cannot write hyphen inside the variable name. Can we write hash? No, hash is also not uh, acceptable in the variable names. Can we write other symbols? No, this is also invalid. So variable names can include alphanumeric characters and underscore. Let's revise. Variable name must be started by dollar sign. Its name should start with a letter or an underscore, but not a number. Variable names are case sensitive. Variable names can include alphanumeric characters and underscore. Okay, so let's go back and go to the next section, PHP Type Declaration. So what does it mean in other languages? For example, C, when we define a variable, we write the type of the variable. Also, for example, if I want to store a number, I will write it like int x is equal to 0. If I want to store a string, the syntax will be something like string, my string is equal to this. So before the variable name, we write a keyword that tells that language that what will be the data type of the variable. Okay, so this will tell the language that we are going to store an integer inside of this variable, and what this keyword will tell the language is that we will store in my string a string literal. But as you can see, we do not these type declaration inside of PHP. But in PHP 7, we can, from PHP 7, PHP introduced type declaration with a strict keyword. So we will get back to this later, but for now, you can just consider PHP as a loosely typed language. Okay, so next we will discuss the variable scope. What does this mean? Let me clear this code. And when there are three types of scopes in PHP. The first one is the global scope, then a local scope, and then the static scope. Okay, so let's discuss them one by one. So what is a global scope? When I write a variable x is equal to 10, this variable has been defined outside of a function. We have not written any function. We will see more about the PHP function in the 15th lecture, but for now I will write a simple function just to describe the variable scopes. So when I write a variable outside of a function or a block, this variable will be considered as a global. Okay. This variable can be accessed anywhere outside the function. For example, let me write a simple function my function, and if I try to echo x here, and as you can see, my browser is telling me that the variable x is not defined because the variable was defined outside of this function. So this variable cannot be accessed inside of that function. Okay, but if I write echo x outside of that function, you can see that there is no error. Let me refresh the page. You can see the value has been displayed, but as soon as I comment this line, you will see the value has been vanished from the front end. Okay, so this is the global scope. The global scope is something that is outside of the function. So the variable defined in the global scope can be accessed outside of the function. But what if I want to access this variable inside of a function? Well, there is an option too. So okay, first let me give you another example. Let me define x is equal to 5 here. So now that I have defined a variable inside of the function as well, so there is a variable x outside of the function, and then there is a variable x is equal to 5 inside the function. Let's run the page. You can see that um, ah okay, So we have defined the function, but we have not called this function. So I will call this function with this syntax. So now if I refresh the page, you can see the value of 5 is being displayed here. Okay. So although outside of the function we have defined x is equal to 10, but inside of the function we have written x equal to 5, and when we run this function with this syntax, it will display this 5 value instead of displaying this. Okay, so this x is in a global scope and this x is in a local scope. A local scope is a scope that is restricted inside of the function only. So this x, which is in a local scope, cannot be accessed outside of this function. And this x, which is in a global scope, cannot be accessed within this function. Okay. So if I write echo here, what do you think will be displayed here? If I comment this line, what do you think will be displayed here? Will it be x equal to 5 or will it be x equal to 10? Let's see. It's 10 because we have written this echo outside of the function. That is why it is displaying a value of x that is outside of the function, which is in the global scope. Got it? So these are the global versus local scope. What if I want to access this variable inside of the function? So there is a way. PHP has a keyword which is global, and if we write something like this, and now I echo, okay, let me, yeah. So if I refresh the page, you see a value of 10 is being displayed. As soon as I comment this line, you see my IDE is telling me that x is not defined. And if I refresh the page, you see nothing appears here. So as soon as I write global x, okay, so it will tell this function that it needs to get the x variable from the global scope. Okay, so that is the way you can access the outside function from within the function. Okay, so this is the way. And one more thing I want to describe to you is that yeah, it is the global variable. Okay, let me comment all of this code and I will write echo and globals. Yeah, and I refresh the page. Actually nothing. And if I write x here, um, yeah, so there is a global variable in PHP which is accessible through this. Okay, so the PHP stores the global variable inside of this function. So you can inside of this variable name. So that can be used anywhere. So this does not have to be accessed, does not need to be accessed by a global keyword inside of the function. It is available by default globally. Okay, so we have discussed the variable scopes, the global scope and the local scope, and then finally there is a static scope. We will come back to the static scope later on when we discuss the function in more detail. So right now, for now, global and local scopes are the one that we have discussed. Okay. So I hope you like my video. If that is the case, please subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon so that you will get the notifications for the new videos as soon as they arrive. Until then, take care. Bye bye.